But, you know, tonight we have a special guest, two special guests with us, and we're talking with Greg and Dee Dee Hayslip, who have a really amazing ministry, a very somewhat controversial ministry of deliverance for homosexual and people who are addicted to pornography. And they're here to talk to us and tell us a little bit more about their story. Welcome to Atlanta Live.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Great having you.
Your story is really unique and inspiring. I would love for you to just start off by telling us a little bit about how you got into this ministry.
Well, I could start with when I came back to the Lord. I decided to go into the homosexual lifestyle, and I was in it for 11 years. And in 2005, the Lord just began to deal with me. And I love that He deals with you when you're not right, when you're incomplete. You don't have to fix yourself up. And I really like that.
I love that.
I wanted to stress that because,
Yes.
I mean, too many people think that they need to fix themselves up before they come to the Lord, and you can't do that.
So true.
And so I came back to the Lord in 2005, and it's been 8 years, almost 8 years. And in somewhere along the way, I don't know exactly when, but the Lord began to talk to me about sharing my testimony. You've got to let people know. And He began to give me this boldness, and I've never had this kind of boldness. I loved the Lord before I went into the life choice, and then when I came back to the Lord, it was like, man, I need you, Jesus. And I wanted to do something about it, and He began to talk to me about that. And so in 2010, after years of serving Him and even displaying this on my body, and
what does that say?
This says, I used to be gay, but Jesus set me free. And I'm very proud of that because I'm proud of my Savior, Jesus Christ. So it's not a pride of any sort about myself. It's a pride in Him and how He's delivered me.
But what's so powerful about your story in particular is that there was something before this lifestyle, that in fact you were married.
Yes, I was.
You have children.
I do.
And so you made
Grandchildren.
a transition into the lifestyle by choice. And there's so many people that believe that they're born that way, or others that believe you choose that way.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, does it?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you want to think you were born that way, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter because we're all born sinners. And then the Lord, He doesn't want to leave us in sin because He created a perfect world. It's when Adam and Eve decided to do all that they did that we got into all this sin. But God created a perfect world, so He didn't create any of this stuff. We as men and women did.
So your message is powerful because you're saying, hey, you've just made the entire argument obsolete. Whether you believe you're born that way, you could be born again.
That's absolutely right. The Lord wants us to become like Him.
Yes.
And He's not gay.
Oh
He's
my
not
gosh.
a sinner. He doesn't even know how to sin. I mean, at all.
Wow.
So that's what's really cool. I mean,
Wow.
he is perfect in every way, and so we strive to become more like Him every single day.
Now, listen, the reality is people who have been in that lifestyle or any type of lifestyle, they usually associate it with shame and guilt and fear and don't want to come out and share their testimony and their story. But you're doing it in the most bold way that I've ever seen. I mean, you are a walking, talking billboard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what type of reception have you received from people, whether they're in the lifestyle, whether they're not? What has been the impact you've made and the reaction you've gotten?
Oh my goodness, it's been varied. We actually have a sign on the back of our car, and I've had a sign on the back of my car since December 2008. And the sign reads, I used to be gay, but Jesus set me free. Now the sign that we have has Meet My Wife. It's also on there because I've been married for almost 3 years, and I want them to know that. But so we're driving down the road, and we love to witness driving down the road with that sign. And you know, we've got a lot of middle fingers, you can only imagine. But we've also gotten thumbs up. I mean, people just outrageous about praise God that someone is standing up for Jesus. And we've witnessed on the street, we've witnessed in malls with me wearing this shirt, T-shirts that say the same thing, I used to be gay, but Jesus set me free. And a lot of hatred, especially when they're right there beside you. My wife and I have been up and down the eastern seaboard. The Lord has led us. We're full-time. This is our full-time ministry. We neither one have jobs, and yet the Lord has provided. As I said, we've been married almost 3 years, and we haven't worked in those 3 years, and yet God has provided. We've stayed in host families' homes. I mean, God has made a way because what He wants done, He's going to get done, and He has kept us for such a time as this, because this testimony is so valuable to King Jesus.
Amen.
You can be set free from anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Sin is sin.
Right. Are you going into churches and reaching people? How are you coming across people that might need your help?
We would love to go into churches. Churches have had no desire for us to come. We had it. Yeah, I know. We had it back in 2010 briefly, where we went into a couple of churches, and then, as you use the word controversial, I don't know how this can be controversial rather, because the Bible simply says sin is sin. God is the one who decided what sin is. And he decided that homosexuality is a sin, just like gossiping and lying and cheating and all that stuff. But
why do you think it is that the church is not receptive to your message? Because it's clearly in the Word what you're teaching.
They will lose tithe payers. They will lose people. That's what they're afraid of. I do truly believe that they will lose people, and they're too concerned about that. They got this big fat mortgage, perhaps. I don't know, and so they're really concerned with, in my opinion, all the wrong things, because Jesus was concerned with people, not with a building. And I love buildings. I love architecture. But people are a whole lot more important than a building.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to ask Didi, I want to pull you in on this conversation because, you're the wife, and, the wife, we are the ones that pour into our husbands and help them to be how great they are, right?
She does.
I know that you had a huge part in everything that is happening in this ministry. What part have you played, and how has it affected you and your relationship with your husband?
Well, having nothing really has given us a really special relationship with each other. I had to learn very quickly how not to be a petty wife. I had to learn very quickly how to not be the woman in the book of Proverbs who gets up on her rooftop and complains about her man. And so for me, the journey in this has been, Didi, are you going to serve me the way I want, or are you going to serve me the way that you want?
Wow.
And so it's really been a grassroots production of how to be a wife God's way, and not use hormones as an excuse to get on my husband's back because we don't have a home of our own, and I'd like to, take care of the home front, or how. So I've had to really get over myself, and really, I'm as much his helpmate as he is mine. He is a picture of Christ to me. And I asked the Lord, I want to meet someone like Paul. I want to meet someone who had made a life choice, and you have drastically changed that person. And I didn't know I was praying for my husband. And so for me, the journey in pouring into my husband means me sacrificing my own desires so that I can pour into him.
That's so powerful. Now, I want to ask you a question, because you do have a deliverance ministry.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to this particular issue, many people believe that there's no way that you can ever be delivered from it.
I proved them wrong.
So I want to know about that deliverance process, because there are people who are married today where that was their lifestyle. They've come out of it, but yet there's still fear and anxiety that he or she could slip back into that lifestyle. How do you minister to those type of couples?
Well, that's actually answers the same question about the church. I think that's part of what the church thinks, is that what if this person does slide back? And so there's that fear. You asked that question a moment ago about why the church wouldn't have us in, and I think that's part of it too. Is they're afraid that that the person might go back into homosexuality, but that's a trust factor where you trust the Lord and know that you have an understanding that God will take care of it. If he sent the person into your life, then he will take care of it. And as far as deliverance, I didn't fix myself. I couldn't fix myself. I've had people tell me, well, I wanted God to take this from me, and he wouldn't. Well, you have to give it to him. And that's where it begins. I mean, you literally give yourself to God and say, God, and that's what I did. I said, God, I'm broken. I'm a mess. You've got to fix me. I mean, I'm a mess. I mean, if I go to one more gay bar, I'm just going to freak out because I'm so sick of going to a gay bar. That's what I was saying to the Lord at the time. And I gave it all to him. And I gave it to him hook, line, and sinker. And I said, now, and after I came back to the Lord, I said, now, Lord, I want to see you part the Red Sea. I want to see those kind of miracles. I've never seen that in my entire life. I've never seen anybody walk on water. And I said, God, I want to see those kind of things in my lifetime. And I believe, brother and sister, that we are coming into that dispensation where we're going to see supernatural, divine.
Yes.
I believe it with all of my heart that we're going to see things like we have never seen before. And yes, the LGBT is going to crumble because Jesus is going to get into their lives.
Well, wait a minute now. Wait. You're preaching a message of hatred.
Oh, not
because
at all.
there's certain people that will say this whole deliverance process, that's a message of hate. And so you're hating on, or
Of
you're
course I am.
anti-homosexual by having that message, that you're homophobic.
You know, really, yeah, absolutely. You could say that if you want to, but that's not the case at all. I absolutely love the LGBT. If I didn't, I would not put my wife, we would not put our lives on the line like we have done. And we have literally done that. We've walked on the streets in Miami, and we walked on the streets of Baltimore. We have been around, and our lives have been in danger. And yet here we are sitting. We've never been stabbed. Our tires have never been slashed. We've never had one window broken out of our car. And yet we know, because God has let us know. Yeah, you were in danger. The first time I went up to Baltimore. I parked my car. I mean, we're talking about a really bad neighborhood. And I parked along the street, and I said, Lord, is my car safe? And that's when he began to tell me, Greg, you have no idea how many times people have come up to your car, and they were going to do damage to it. And they turned and walked away, and they didn't even know why. Now, that's the kind of God that we serve.
Yes, we
I
do.
mean, he can do anything, and
Yes,
he has
he can.
protected us
Yes.
over and over and over again. There is nobody like my God. I mean, there is nobody
That's
like
right.
him.
Wow.
He can do anything.
Wow.
We are proof of that. I mean, he has kept us. Again, we don't have jobs, and yet God has provided. He has met our every need. We're staying at a host family's home right here in Atlanta right now. And that's God's provision. He has created that for such a time as this so that we could be here on this show.
Awesome. You also talk about your ministry deals with helping parents deal with when their children are coming out. How does that play a part in your ministry?
I have a tremendous passion for parents because, one, their child comes to them and says, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, and they freak out. Of course they would. I know I would. My first wife sure did. She had every right to. And my thought for parents is to, of course, you've got to continue to love your child. Do whatever you do, don't throw them out the door. That's the last thing you need to do, because God would never do that. God would never turn his back on us. And so why in the world would a parent turn their back on their own flesh and blood? They should never do that. But they need to set boundaries. No, your lover cannot come to the house and sleep in bed with you. That kind of thing. I mean, there's got to be boundaries where, no, you're not going to have parties in my house, because, number one, as parents, that's their home. And they need to have boundaries in their home. You're not going to be cussing up a blue streak in my home.
Right.
You're going to leave that outside the door. So there's going to have to be guidelines set up, because, I mean, we're talking about grown-up children. I mean, that's basically what gay people are. I mean, there's some loving people as gay people, but they really are very childlike. I know I was. I thought like a child, and I did a lot of things that were very childish. And coming back to the Lord, I mean, the Lord has, I've been out of the Life Choice almost 8 years. It has taken God 8 years to get all that stuff out of me, and I'm still a work in progress.
What advice would you have to those that want to come out? They're teetering on whether they should or they shouldn't. What encouragement, what advice, what inspiration would you give to them to help them make that decision to move forward?
Well, one, it's not going to be an easy choice because the world is just leaning towards, I mean, we're now 15 states that have gay marriage in them now. Illinois is about to do that. I read that today. Illinois is about to do the same thing. So there's 15 states. So there's a lot of thrust to be gay. For whatever reason, there's just a lot of thrust to be gay. And so a person that's going to decide not to be gay, and that you can do that. There's a lot of us out there that are ex-gay. I read one place on the web that there's more ex-gays than there are gays.
Wow.
That would be an awesome thing. I don't know if it's true or not, but it was interesting. I'd like to do more research on that. But you've got to have a made-up mind. That's the bottom line. With any sin, you're going to have to have a made-up mind. When you commit to the Lord, number one, He forgives you right away. The devil will continue to tell you, well, man, you're a mess. You did all this and you did all that. You can imagine what he would tell me with my first marriage. I mean, I left her to go with a man. You can imagine what the devil would do with me. But I don't give him a chance. That's my past, and that's what any sinner has to do, is they have to lay it down, because that's what God does immediately. That's what He does for any of us that come to Him. He forgives us, and then He wants us to just lay it at His feet and then just keep walking towards Him.
Quickly, we only have a minute left. Tell me, in terms of moving forward with your ministry, that you're believing God for something, a particular vehicle, I believe,
yes,
so that you can do some great work. Quickly tell me about that in 30 seconds, and then we want to find out how we can get in touch with you.
Okay, great. Well, you know, we have the sign on the back of our car, I used to be gay, but Jesus set me free. Well, the Lord wants us to have a motor coach. That's one big bus that you can live in, and He wants us to have a sign on both sides in the back of that motor coach that read, I used to be gay, but Jesus set me free, meet my wife, also with our web address, overcomerministries.com. And so the Lord just wants this to be a mobile ministry. It's already been that, but He wants to get it much bigger. Driving the streets of Washington, D.C. in a big motor coach. Can you imagine the streets of New York, the streets of San Francisco? We haven't been to San Francisco. I mean, seriously, I can't wait. I want to do it so bad. I want that motor coach.
Well, we're believing God for you, and we just thank you for being bold enough and audacious enough to share the gospel of Jesus Christ in your unique way to help people become set free. That's a powerful thing. Once again, how can they get in touch with you? What is your website?
www.overcomerministries.com. It's very easy. We're overcomers.
We're overcomers.
We all are. We all are. Absolutely.
We are. Awesome. Listen, we're going to the phones right now, but I want you to stay tuned, because we're going to have Dee Dee come back and sing us a wonderful song about breaking every chain. We'll be right back.